Incredible and real story. Enjoy. Sarah Jenkins stood behind the polished glass counter of Elite Gems, her eyes narrowing as she watched the young black girl wandering between the display cases. The girl couldn't have been more than 11, her braids neatly tied back, school backpack still slung over her shoulder. To Sarah, it didn't matter that the child wore a pristine private school uniform or carried herself with quiet dignity. All she saw was a threat. Little did Sarah know, she was watching Olivia Thompson, daughter of Marcus Thompson, the owner of Elite Gems and one of the most successful jewelers in the city. Olivia loved spending afternoons in her father's store, marveling at the way light danced off diamonds and sapphires. The store was her sanctuary, a magical place where precious stones told stories of love and celebration. That peaceful afternoon shattered when Olivia accidentally brushed against a display case, causing a pair of diamond earrings to slip from their perch. The soft clink of metal hitting glass triggered a chain of events that would expose the ugly face of prejudice and prove that justice can come from unexpected places. What happened next would not only change lives, but force an entire community to confront its hidden biases. This is a story about prejudice, power, and the price of assumptions. But most importantly, it's about a father's love and his fight for justice in a world that too often judges people by the color of their skin rather than the content of their character. Before Olivia could reach for the fallen earring, Sarah's voice cut through the air like ice. "Don't you dare touch that." The sharpness made Olivia freeze, her small hand hovering inches above the jewelry. The warmth and wonder she'd always felt in her father's store evaporated in an instant. "I'm sorry," Olivia stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "It was an accident. I just wanted to look." Look? Or steal? Sarah towered over her, years of unchecked prejudice turning an innocent accident into something sinister. "I've been watching you since you walked in. I know exactly what you were trying to do." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes as she tried to explain, but Sarah wasn't interested in explanations. The next moment happened so fast it felt surreal. Sarah's hand struck Olivia's cheek with a sharp crack that echoed through the store. The force sent the young girl stumbling backward, her school bag sliding off her shoulder as she hit the cold marble floor. Sarah reached for her phone, her fingers flying across the keypad with practiced efficiency. "Yes, police? I need officers at Elite Gems immediately. I've caught a shoplifter." Her voice dripped with self-righteousness as she kept her eye trained on Olivia, who sat trembling on the floor, one hand pressed against her stinging cheek. The police arrived within minutes. Officers Parker and Rodriguez swept into the store, their presence overwhelming in the small space. They barely glanced at Olivia's private school uniform, her obvious youth, or her tears. Instead, they listened intently as Sarah painted her version of events, nodding along as she described an attempted theft that had never happened. "Please," Olivia begged as Officer Parker pulled out his handcuffs. "My daddy, he owns." But her words were cut off as the cold metal closed around her small wrists. The same display cases she had admired countless times now reflected a scene from her worst nightmare. Sarah watched with satisfaction as the officers began reading Olivia her rights, her arms crossed over her chest in triumph. The girl's protests fell on deaf ears as they led her toward the door, her steps faltering under the weight of false accusations and prejudice. But fate had other plans. Marcus Thompson's day had been filled with meetings across town, discussing expansion plans for his jewelry empire. He never expected to return to his flagship store and find his world turned upside down. As he pulled into his reserved parking space, the sight of police cars outside Elite Gems sent a chill down his spine. The scene that greeted him as he entered the store would be forever burned into his memory. His daughter, his precious Olivia, in handcuffs. His employee, Sarah Jenkins, standing there with an air of smug satisfaction. Two police officers treating his child like a criminal. What the hell is going on here? Marcus's voice carried the weight of authority that came from years of building his business from the ground up. The room fell silent, save for Olivia's quiet sobs. Sarah's face drained of color as recognition dawned. "Mr. Thompson, I caught this girl trying to steal." "This girl?" Marcus's voice was deadly quiet. "You mean my daughter?" The atmosphere in the store shifted instantly. Officer Parker's hands, which had been firmly gripping Olivia's shoulders, suddenly went slack. Sarah's triumphant expression crumbled into horror as she realized the magnitude of her mistake. "Your daughter?" The words seemed to stick in Sarah's throat. Marcus moved with purposeful strides toward Olivia, his expression softening only when he reached her. "Take these off, now." The command in his voice left no room for argument. As Officer Rodriguez fumbled with the handcuff keys, Marcus gently examined the red mark on his daughter's cheek, his jaw tightening with barely controlled rage. "She hit me, Daddy," Olivia whispered, fresh tears spilling down her face. "I didn't do anything wrong. The earring just fell, and I was trying to pick it up." Marcus's gaze snapped to Sarah, who had begun backing away, her earlier confidence replaced by naked fear. "You struck my child?" Each word was measured, heavy with the promise of consequences. "I didn't know she was your daughter," Sarah blurted out, as if that somehow made it better. "I thought..." "You thought what?" Marcus cut her off. "That because she's black, she must be a thief? That it was okay to assault a child based on nothing but your own prejudice?" The officers shifted uncomfortably, their earlier certainty replaced by the sickening realization that they had been complicit in an act of blatant racism. Officer Parker cleared his throat. "Mr. Thompson, we apologize for the misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Marcus's laugh was without humor. "You put my 11-year-old daughter in handcuffs without even attempting to verify her story. That's not a misunderstanding. That's negligence." Sarah made one last desperate attempt to salvage the situation. "Mr. Thompson, please, I was just trying to protect the store. You're fired." The words cut through her excuses like a knife. "And you'd better pray that assault charges are the only consequences you face for this." Sarah's face crumpled as the reality of her situation sank in. The sound of a phone camera clicking made everyone turn. Another customer had captured the entire scene. Within hours, the incident would become viral evidence of how quickly prejudice could turn an innocent moment into a nightmare. As Marcus held his trembling daughter close, he knew this wasn't over. This wasn't just about one racist employee or two officers who had failed to do their duty. This was about a system that needed to change, about the countless other children who faced similar prejudice every day. He looked down at Olivia, seeing not just his daughter, but a symbol of why this fight was so necessary. The red mark on her cheek would fade, but the lesson would remain. Justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about making sure such incidents never happened again. In the weeks that followed, Sarah Jenkins faced the full consequences of her actions. The viral video of the incident sparked a nationwide conversation about racial profiling in retail stores. She was convicted of assault on a minor and false reporting, receiving both jail time and mandatory anti-discrimination training. The two officers were suspended pending an internal investigation, leading to department-wide reforms in how police respond to retail theft reports involving minors. Marcus Thompson used his influence to push for change, establishing a foundation dedicated to fighting racial discrimination in retail spaces. But perhaps the most powerful change happened within Elite Gems itself. Today, Olivia Thompson still visits the store after school, but now she helps train new employees about the importance of treating every customer with dignity and respect, regardless of their appearance. Her story has become a powerful testimony to how one moment of injustice can spark lasting change. If this story moved you, help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Your support allows us to continue sharing these important stories that need to be told. Leave a comment sharing how you would have handled this situation as a parent. Remember to like and share this video to spread awareness about racial profiling and its impact on innocent lives.